My wife's lover called me, screaming, "Come get your wife. She's unconscious in my bed." I arrived to find her half-dressed and barely breathing. I called 911, then left a note on her chest. "You chose this. I'm done. This is one of the worst things I've ever gone through in my life, and I'm still trying to process it. I know this sounds crazy, but I need to get this out there. It's been eating me alive, and I don't know what to do anymore. I've always had a pretty good life. Married to a woman I thought I knew, a house, a stable job. Everything was normal. I thought everything was fine. But everything came crashing down one night. It started with a phone call at 2:34 a.m. I wasn't expecting it. I was in the middle of a restless sleep, my body exhausted but my mind still racing. The sudden vibration of my phone against the nightstand jerked me awake. At first, I thought it was just some random spam call, maybe a robocall or some wrong number. But when I saw her name on the screen, I answered without hesitation. I could hear her name, Sophie, so clearly in my mind. But the voice I heard on the other side wasn't hers. "Hello," I muttered groggily. "Is this Jason?" The voice sounded frantic, like someone was out of breath. It was a man, not the calm, collected voice I was used to hearing at 2 a.m. "Who the hell is this?" I asked, now fully awake and starting to feel that prickling feeling of anxiety creep up my spine. "Is this Jason? I need you to listen to me right now." The voice continued, almost pleading. "What? Who is this?" I said, starting to feel a mix of irritation and confusion. Then the voice said something that made my blood run cold. "I'm Mark. I'm the guy your wife has been seeing. She's in trouble, man. You need to come to 12th Street. I don't know what happened, but she's unconscious in my bed. You need to get here, please." The world tilted. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Sophie had been seeing someone. My heart raced, and for a second, I couldn't process what I just heard. What was all I could manage to get out? I don't know how this happened, Jason, Mark stammered. "But you need to come. She's not waking up, and she's barely breathing. You've got to get here." I didn't know what to say, what to think. The fog in my head lifted slightly, replaced by a sick feeling in my stomach. This couldn't be happening. Sophie, my wife, was where? With who? And now she was unconscious in this guy's bed? I felt a mix of disbelief and anger hit me all at once. It was like a punch to the gut, but it also felt like I couldn't move. My mind was running in circles, and I couldn't make sense of anything. "What do you mean unconscious?" I finally said, barely able to get the words out. "What the hell happened?" "I don't know. I swear, Jason, I didn't do anything. She just passed out, man. I don't know what happened, but she's not breathing properly." Mark was starting to sound more frantic. "Please, just come to 12th Street, right now. I'm not kidding. I don't know what else to do." My pulse raced. It was as if time stopped for a moment. This was happening. My wife, my Sophie, was in some guy's bed, unconscious. This couldn't be real. I was still standing in my bedroom, clutching my phone like it was going to give me answers. The words didn't make sense, but I couldn't ignore the panic in Mark's voice. "I'm coming," I said, before ending the call abruptly. I grabbed my keys off the kitchen counter without thinking, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped them. I didn't care about anything else. I had to get to her. I had to know if she was okay, if she was really okay, or if something had happened. My mind kept circling back to Mark. I didn't care about his explanation. I just needed to get to her. My brain wouldn't stop thinking about the one thing I hadn't processed yet. She had been seeing him. She had been with him. I threw on my jacket and rushed out the door. I barely even remembered the drive. My eyes were glued to the road, but my mind wasn't on driving. It was on her. On Sophie. On the sickening thought that she could have been with someone else, and I had no idea. I barely remembered the turn onto 12th Street. It was a quiet road. Just a few houses, dim streetlights casting long shadows. There it was, a small house with a flickering light in the back. I parked haphazardly in front of it, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. My hands were sweating. I didn't even realize how fast I was moving until I was out of the car and rushing toward the door. Mark was standing there, looking like he'd seen a ghost. He was pale, eyes wide with fear. I pushed past him without a word. "Where is she?" I snapped, my voice low, but full of anger. He didn't say anything, just led me down the hallway. The closer we got, the heavier the air felt. I was already imagining what I would find, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I stepped into that bedroom. Sophie, my wife, lying there, unconscious, half-dressed. Her breathing was shallow, ragged, like she was struggling to stay alive. She was cold to the touch. Her skin was pale. Her lips barely moving, barely parting. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. The woman I loved wasn't here. She was gone. It was like I was looking at a stranger. I dropped to my knees beside her, trying to shake her awake, but there was no response. No movement. I could feel my blood pumping through my ears. "Sophie," I whispered, but the word barely left my mouth before I was dialing 911. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. The operator's voice was calm, asking what the emergency was. I tried to explain what I was seeing, but my words were stumbling over each other. I could barely keep my thoughts straight. "She's not breathing properly. She's unconscious. She's barely alive." The words felt surreal, like I was saying them to someone else. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. But it was. It was happening. As I knelt there beside her, I realized what I needed to do. I needed to fix this. I needed to fix her. But as I looked down at her, half-dressed, lifeless, I realized something else. Something worse. Something I wasn't ready to admit. She had made a choice. This wasn't some mistake. It wasn't a one-time thing. She had chosen to be here. To be with him. To betray me. To betray us. And I had no idea how long it had been going on. I couldn't fix that. There was no going back. The sirens screamed in the distance as the ambulance arrived. But even as I heard them getting closer, I stood there, frozen for a moment. Something shifted in me. I knew what I had to do. I knew what was next. I couldn't stay. I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't stand by and let this happen. I grabbed a piece of paper from the nightstand, my fingers trembling, and I wrote something simple. Something final. Then I placed the note on her chest, where her heart should have been. It read, "You chose this. I'm done." I stood up, my chest tight with the weight of it all. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The door closed behind me, and for the first time, I didn't feel a thing. I stepped out of the room, still feeling numb, like my body was on autopilot. The sound of the ambulance getting closer should have been comforting, but it only made everything feel more real. The gravity of the situation was crashing down on me with every step I took away from that house. I made it to the front door, but before I could leave, I heard Mark calling after me. "Jason." His voice was frantic, but it sounded like desperation mixed with guilt. "You can't just leave. You have to." I turned around, anger boiling over. "I don't have to do anything. She's your problem now. You did this." The words came out sharper than I intended, but it felt good to say them. Finally, the anger that had been simmering for who knows how long was bubbling up to the surface. Mark's face twisted, like I had punched him in the gut. "You don't understand. She was acting weird all night. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong. Then she just collapsed. I tried to help her, Jason, I swear." His voice cracked, as though he was trying to convince me of something. But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. "You tried to help her?" I sneered, shaking my head. "You think I don't know what was going on? You think I don't know what she was doing here with you?" Mark took a step toward me, his hand outstretched, pleading. "Jason, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. She kept saying how unhappy she was with you, how she wanted to leave, but I didn't. I couldn't listen to him anymore." "Stop. Just stop talking." The pain in my chest was turning into something sharp. I couldn't process everything he was saying. The betrayal, the lies, it was all too much. I turned and walked out the door without another word. The sound of Mark's voice behind me didn't follow. He must have stayed inside. But it didn't matter. I couldn't stay there any longer. I got into my car and slammed the door behind me, the engine starting up with a low hum that only made me feel more isolated. The streets were empty, the night cold. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay in that house, in that town, with those memories. But as I drove, my mind wouldn't stop turning. I kept thinking about everything. How Sophie had been acting lately, how she'd become distant, how she'd been spending more time away from home, even though she said she was working late. It never seemed like a big deal at the time. I kept telling myself it was nothing, that she was just stressed. But now, everything pointed to something far worse. What had she been doing with him? How long had this been going on? I didn't know. And I hated myself for not knowing. For trusting her when I shouldn't have. The road stretched out in front of me, and I drove aimlessly for what felt like hours. I didn't have a destination. I just needed to get away. I kept my eyes on the road, but my mind was stuck back at that house. Just as I was about to turn onto another street, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost didn't answer, but I knew it was Sophie's number, and part of me felt like I had to hear it from her. I picked it up with shaking hands. It was a message. From her. The message said, "I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. Please don't hate me. I never meant to hurt you. I need to explain everything when you're ready. Please, Jason. Please talk to me." I almost threw my phone out the window. I was already at my breaking point, and this message felt like salt in a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. The nerve of her. After everything, she was asking for my forgiveness? Asking me to talk to her? For a moment, I thought about responding, telling her how hurt I was. But what would be the point? She didn't deserve my words, not after what she had done. So I put the phone down, focusing on the road again. That's when the text came in again. This time, it wasn't from Sophie. The message read, "You're not done. Not yet, Jason." I froze. My heart raced. The message had come from an unknown number. I checked the phone number again. It was unfamiliar, but somehow, I knew it wasn't just a random prank. The words felt like a warning, a threat of something bigger. My stomach churned. I didn't want to entertain it. I didn't want to believe that someone was messing with me. But the timing, the way it was worded, it felt too deliberate, too personal. It was almost like someone was watching me, waiting for me to make my move. Another text came through before I could even process the first one. "You don't know the whole story. You never did. Keep digging, and you'll find what you're looking for." My mind was racing. This couldn't be happening. Who was this? What the hell did they mean? I had just learned the worst possible thing about my wife, and now someone else was throwing more fuel on the fire. I wasn't going to let it go. I couldn't. My fingers were already typing a response before I even knew what I was doing. "What do you mean? Who the hell is this?" The answer came quickly, someone who knows what really happened. Someone who can help you. But you have to listen. I sat there, staring at the screen, heart pounding. It didn't make sense. None of it did. But I couldn't stop myself from responding. Help me with what? What the hell is going on? The reply came in an instant. It's not just Sophie you should be worried about. You're in more danger than you realize. The air seemed to grow colder. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. There was something else at play, something bigger that I couldn't see. I had to know who this was. I had to find out what they were talking about. But as I stared at the phone, something else began to click in my mind. The warning wasn't just about Sophie. It was about me. It was about my safety. I was no longer sure who I could trust. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I was already reeling from everything with Sophie, but now there was this cryptic message, and the threat, you're in more danger than you realize. I was spiraling. My mind raced through 1,000 possibilities, none of them good. I needed to get answers. I couldn't just sit here, not knowing what was going on. Who was texting me? Was it someone connected to Mark? Or was it someone else? I had no clue, but the words burned in my brain. It's not just Sophie you should be worried about. I kept driving, my eyes glued to the road, but my mind constantly jumping back to that moment in Sophie's bedroom. How had I missed it? How had I missed the signs? I thought I knew her, thought we had everything together. But now I wasn't so sure about anything. My phone buzzed again. Another message. The same number. The same cryptic tone. You're being watched. Don't make any sudden moves. I almost slammed the brakes right then and there. Being watched? Who the hell was this? And why were they messing with me? Why were they making this worse? I was already on the edge. I pulled over to the side of the road, hands trembling. My mind kept racing back to what Mark had said. How Sophie had been unhappy with me. I couldn't get those words out of my head. I couldn't even process the fact that my wife had been seeing someone else. But then that text, that phrase, you're being watched. I glanced around the empty street, suddenly feeling paranoid. There was no one here. Nothing that should make me feel unsafe. But I felt eyes on me. I felt them. I opened the next message without thinking. You don't understand. It's not just about her. It's about you. I slammed my hands against the steering wheel, cursing under my breath. This was a nightmare. I shouldn't be getting messages like this. This wasn't how any of this was supposed to go. But there was more. There had to be more. I quickly typed back. What the hell is going on? What do you want from me? The reply came instantly, but it was even more chilling. You're about to find out. That was it. No explanation. Nothing. Just that. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, waiting for something, anything. My heart was racing. I could barely breathe. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message from the unknown number. It was a call. I hesitated for a moment. I couldn't trust any of this. But something pushed me to answer. Maybe I could finally get some answers. Maybe this person would tell me what the hell was going on. Hello? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. A deep, distorted voice came through the phone. It was hard to make out at first, like they were talking through a filter, but the words hit me like a punch to the stomach. You need to leave. You need to get out of town. Now. They're coming for you. I felt my pulse quicken. My hands started to shake again. What do you mean? Who's coming for me? The voice paused for a long moment, like they were considering how much to say. Then, in a tone that was almost too calm, too cold, they said, Sophie's been involved in something much bigger than you know. There's a reason she's been seeing Mark. There's a reason she's been lying to you. I clenched my fists around the steering wheel, my mind screaming. What the hell are you talking about? What does Sophie have to do with any of this? You're not safe, Jason. There's a lot more going on here than a simple affair. Sophie, she got involved in something she couldn't get out of. Something dangerous. And now, you're in the middle of it. I froze. Dangerous? What does that even mean? I spat into the phone, frustration and fear building in my chest. What are you talking about? I don't understand any of this. The voice on the other end of the line lowered, almost to a whisper. You've been with the wrong person, Jason. Sophie was never who you thought she was. She was working for someone else, someone who doesn't play by the rules. They'll come for you next. If you want to survive, you need to leave. They'll kill you if they find you. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Kill me? Was this a joke? Was I in some kind of sick, twisted game? I couldn't process it. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to call the police. But something inside me knew this was no joke. Something inside me told me that what this person was saying wasn't just paranoia. It was real. I slammed my foot on the gas and drove away, heading back toward the town. But every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I thought I saw headlights following me. Not close, but just enough to make me feel paranoid. Like I wasn't alone. Like someone was watching me. As I neared the exit, I got another call. This time, it was from a local number. My heart dropped into my stomach as I recognized the area code. It was from the police station. I answered it immediately, hoping for some answers. Jason, this is Detective Harris. We need to talk. I swallowed hard. About what? About your wife. And about the situation you're in. What's going on? I demanded. What happened to Sophie? The detective's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that sent a chill down my spine. We've been investigating something for a while now. Sophie's involvement with a man named Mark, and some of the people he's connected to. Well, let's just say it's bigger than we thought. And you're mixed up in it now. You've got to get to safety, Jason. The breath caught in my throat. Safety? You have no idea what you're getting into. Sophie's not just some innocent woman caught up in an affair. Detective Harris continued. She's been involved in some very dangerous stuff for months. You need to get away from this, or it's going to cost you your life. The words felt like they were choking me. My wife. The woman I had loved for years. She wasn't just some cheated-on spouse. She wasn't just someone who had betrayed me. She had been hiding something. Something much, much worse. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my thoughts racing. It was as if the ground had been pulled out from under me. Every piece of my life, the life I had known, the life I had trusted, was shattering around me. I thought I was done with this. I thought I could walk away, forget, and never look back. But now, with everything I was hearing, I knew I was just getting started. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with something far darker. And I had no idea who to trust anymore. I couldn't run from the truth anymore. The phone calls, the messages, the cryptic warnings, it all led me to this moment. I had to face Sophie. I had to confront her. There was no turning back now. My mind was spinning, my body was exhausted from the constant stress, but I couldn't hide from what was coming. I drove straight to our house. The place that used to feel like home now felt like a prison. The lights were on in the living room, and I saw the silhouette of Sophie through the window. She was standing there, motionless, her back to me. She had to know I was coming. I opened the door without knocking. I didn't want to waste time. The silence was suffocating, but when I walked in, Sophie didn't turn around. She just stood there. Her back was stiff, her shoulders hunched, like she was bracing herself. Sophie, I said, the weight of her name feeling like a stone in my chest. She flinched, but didn't turn to face me. Jason, we need to talk. I took a step closer, my heart thudding louder with every movement. Yeah. I think it's time we did. There was a long, tense silence between us. I wanted to shout, to scream, to make her feel what I felt. The betrayal. The lies. But all I could manage was a shaky breath. I didn't even recognize her anymore. You've been seeing him, haven't you? I asked, my voice low but cutting through the air like a knife. Sophie didn't answer right away. She stared at the floor, unwilling to meet my eyes. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she turned to face me. Her eyes were red, and her face was pale. She looked broken, but I didn't care. I couldn't care. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I've been seeing Mark, but it's not what you think, not what I think. I interrupted, my frustration and anger bubbling to the surface. You've been having an affair with him. You've been lying to me, Sophie. To my face. Her breath hitched, and she tried to step toward me, but I took a step back, keeping the distance between us. No, Jason. It wasn't like that. It started as just talking. He was a friend, but it got out of hand. I never meant for it to happen, I swear. You think that makes it okay? My voice cracked, the anger and the hurt twisting inside me. You think you can just apologize and make it all better? Sophie's eyes filled with tears, and she stepped forward again. I never wanted to hurt you. I was lonely, Jason. I felt like you didn't care anymore. You didn't see me. I felt invisible in this house, in this marriage. The words hit me harder than I expected. I'd been so focused on the betrayal, on the anger, that I hadn't even considered what might have been going on in her head. But that didn't excuse what she'd done. That didn't make it right. You should have talked to me, I said, my voice shaking. You should have told me, Sophie. Instead, you decided to cheat. You decided to break everything between us. Her voice trembled now, her tears flowing freely. I didn't know how. I didn't know if you would even listen. And then when I met Mark, I thought maybe, just maybe, he could give me what I was missing. I was shaking with anger and disbelief. So you turned to him. You let him into our lives. And now, you're telling me all of this like I'm supposed to just forgive you? Like you didn't tear everything apart? I never wanted this, Jason. I swear to you. I wasn't over my head. But when I saw you tonight, when I saw you walk into that room, I knew that I was going to lose everything. And I wasn't ready to lose you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I stood there, staring at her, unable to say anything. The shock of everything she'd just said, everything I'd just learned, it hit me like a wave. I was drowning in it. Part of me wanted to yell at her, tell her to leave, but another part of me just wanted to hold her. But I couldn't. I shouldn't. You don't get to apologize, Sophie. Not after everything. You've hurt me in ways I can't even put into words. She collapsed into a chair, her face buried in her hands. I know I've ruined everything. I don't even know who I am anymore. I looked at her, my heart torn between anger, betrayal, and a deep, aching sadness. She was broken, but so was I. We both were. You don't get to say that, I said, my voice hollow. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. I don't know if I can forgive you. She looked up, her eyes pleading. Please. Jason, I love you. I know I don't deserve you, but I need you. I need to make this right. Let me fix this. Please. I took a deep breath, trying to control the storm of emotions inside me. You can't fix this, Sophie. Not anymore. She looked at me in disbelief. What do you mean? I took a step back, my chest heavy. I've been living in a lie. I thought we were happy. I thought we had something real. But now, I see that I don't even know who you are anymore. I can't go back to that. I can't pretend like everything is fine. For a moment, we both stood there in silence. Her tears were still flowing, but I was numb. I was empty. My heart was broken, but I didn't know if I even wanted it to heal anymore. Then, the doorbell rang. A loud, insistent sound that made both of us jump. Sophie wiped her face, looking confused. Who the hell is that? I muttered under my breath. Sophie looked just as confused, but then her expression shifted to something else, something darker. Jason, you have to leave. Now. What? Sophie, what are you talking about? But the panic in her eyes made me stop. I'll explain later. Just go, she said urgently. But I couldn't leave. Not now. Not when everything was falling apart. I was just about to ask what was going on when the door opened. And there, standing in the doorway, was Mark. The last person I ever thought I'd see again. Sophie, we need to talk, he said, his tone cold and demanding. And then, he turned to me. Jason, I don't think you understand just how much you've gotten in the way. You're too close to the fire. You need to step back. I froze. Something inside me snapped. The tension was too much to bear. Mark's presence made it all worse. The betrayal, the lies, it was all too much. But before I could say anything, Sophie grabbed my arm. Please, Jason, you need to get out of here. Now. But I wasn't going anywhere. Not until I understood everything. Not until I had the answers I needed. Tell me the truth, Sophie, I demanded. What's going on? What have you gotten me into? Her eyes shifted from Mark to me, then back again. You don't know what you're up against. You need to leave. Now. But the moment she said that, everything clicked. This wasn't just about her affair. This was something bigger. Something dangerous. Something I was too deep into to get out of now. Mark stepped forward, a sinister smirk on his face. You're already too late, Jason. You can't leave now. I felt a cold chill down my spine. The stakes were higher than I ever realized. And Sophie was right. I had no idea what I was truly up against. With everything crashing around me, I knew one thing for sure. My life would never be the same again. I didn't know who I could trust or if I could even trust myself anymore. But I wasn't running. Not anymore. I was going to get the truth, no matter the cost.
الغنوة اللي جاية دي حضراتكم هقولوها معايا يعني انتوا ورغبتكم بس انتوا اول ما هتسمعوها هتعرفوا انما انا عايز اقول لكم هي كلمات مين هي كلمات الدكتور مدحت العدل والحان خالد حماد وتوزيعه برضه هنغنيها اول ما تسمعوا الدخول هتغنوا معانا على طول